Welcome along to the Make It Count podcast. My name is David,
My name is Matthew.
and this is our summer short series,
Whoop, whoop.
episode number 4.
Yes, episode number 4 of the series.
Yes, and we're talking about relationships, and we're talking about trust, and how actually building trust is building relationships. And there are these things that you can do that you make emotional deposits or emotional withdrawals. This is all about clarifying expectations. Matt, have you got something or a story about that?
Absolutely. Also, these 6 episodes are based on a blog post that David wrote over a year ago, and we'll link to that in the show notes. That should be linked in every one of these episodes. I have a positive story, actually, of when you clarified expectations with me once, maybe multiple times, but I remember one distinctly. We were going on a weekend away. I think it was the one where we went to Trudy Hill Youth Hostel near Brighton. And on the drive down there, you kind of popped over and asked me a question. You looked over and said, "So, Matt, what are you hoping for at this time? You know, what are you hoping for at this weekend?" And initially I was like, I was taken a bit aback. I didn't know what to think. And then I kind of felt a little bit of like tension or frustration, like, oh man, I just want to be on a holiday. You know, I don't want to have to think hard about it. It should just be easy. It should be just like, well, it should be obvious what I want. You know, it's just easy, relaxed, and you know, you should already know what I want. It's like obvious, isn't it? It should be unspoken, should be unsaid, right? And that's the thing. The subtitle to this clarify expectations is take the implicit and make it explicit, or take the thing that isn't verbalized and verbalize it. And so you were asking me. I realized afterwards, I was like, you were asking me so that you could be a help to what I, needed out of that weekend. You might have even said that, what do you need out of this time? And also to help you understand. And then probably you hoped that I would ask the same question back. I can't remember whether I did. But, so initially what felt like well, you should obviously understand what I want and it should be clear. It was actually, I realized, an invitation to, number one, actually get clear myself. Well, what did I want out of this time? What did I want out of this just short weekend? It was just us two. We were going somewhere where we were going to be a bit remote and we kind of disconnecting a little bit. And I realized, oh yeah, actually, this is what I want. I want some time to decompress. I want to catch up on some of the reading that I had, wanted to done. I wanted to spend some time reflecting on some life choices at that point. So maybe some decisions to make that were at that time. And you giving that invitation for me to make that explicit, even just to myself, and then the invitation to share it with you was really powerful and really positive. And I think it did help because it set the expectation. It was verbalized at the beginning and then it was clear. Okay, well, with that's the hope, if that's the goal, these are the sort of activities that maybe can help that. And I don't think that it would have been a terrible holiday otherwise. When we get along fine. You do understand me well. And I think but it was really good to just have that opportunity to get clear, even with myself. What are the expectations I'm carrying into this? And here they are. Great. Now I know. And that can help me and it helped you as well, I think.
Yeah, I remember that. I think that was probably the first break we had after, all the COVID stuff.
Yes.
And, you felt like there was this need to have something to get out of the house, to be away. But it's like, what is this? Like, what do we really need here? And like you said, it was this beautiful place on the South Downs, rolling green hills, not far away from the coast. And it was luckily really nice weather. And we met some interesting folk. But yeah, that clarification is really important. I was thinking about when I've done this as well. And I suppose I remember going on a date with somebody and really enjoying it afterwards. And so I just said, I really enjoyed this. Can we do this again? Maybe we could go for a walk in a couple of days. A couple of days later, we went on another walk or a walk together. So actually, this was really good. Can we go on like an official first date? And but for me, it was like, it's really important I clarify like what this is really early on. Is it, what is this? And so I said, can we go on an official first date? And we did. And it went quite quickly. And I remember, I don't know when I first started thinking this, but it was like, you can't mind read. And so, and it's difficult, especially I think in potentially romantic relationships where feelings are involved, because it feels like the unsaid is somehow more romantic. but actually it was really helpful every time to clarify it. It gave it deepened the trust in the relationship, and I suppose that's what we're talking about, because those dates led to her eventually becoming my wife. But all the way through, we were really committed to like clarifying, like, what are we, where are we going, like, and not like too well. I mean, it was relatively quick compared to some, but it was just really valuable, so that neither of us were like, hey, what is this? Is this going anywhere? Like, are we unsure? And she really appreciated when I did that, and sort of, like you said, took that unspoken, like, I think this is a thing, and just spoke it, whether it was a question or a comment or a declaration. That I think, as we're talking about, it's about relationship, it's about trust, and clarifying expectations is really important for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's great that you've put the romantic example in there, because it is. We live in a world where we've been sold the story. It's got to be just they've got to mind read you, and if they're not, if you're not completing their sentences or guessing what they need before they ask for it, then it's not real love, or it's not romantic enough. It's not the mystery. And actually, the reality is, we all know this, much of life is just dealing with the mundane. And even in those non-big decisions, sometimes the big conflicts are when we don't clearly communicate. And I was even just visiting some friends the other day, and they had gone on a camping trip. And I said, oh, how was that camping trip? And they just kind of looked at each other, and then they smiled, and they were like, yeah, we argued a lot on that camping trip. What was going on there? And then they shared a little bit about how basically each of them had gone into it with these differing expectations, and they hadn't really spoken about it before. And in effect, both of them ended up thinking to themselves, oh, I know how to camp properly. I'll take charge. So if you've got two people thinking they'll take charge and they don't clearly communicate that, of course you're going to get butted expectations and feeling hurt. So when they were able to talk about it I think that piece obviously was able to fit. Oh, right, great. Now we can work on this together.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and that's it. With the holiday, it can be, we had that experience from your story of like, it's easy just to go, a holiday, obvious, we're going to rest, we're not going to do very much, we're going to unplug a little bit. But it's like, if you don't talk about it, one person might think a holiday is this, and another person thinks it's this.
yeah.
And one, like, I suppose, final example is that I remember listening to a couple of people recently, and their whole thing was about friendship. And one of the bits of advice they gave was, have the clarifying a relationship conversation with a friend. If you're not sure, like, actually, we can even imagine it in a romantic situation of like, hey, what are we? Where are we going? But actually, you can do that with a friendship as well. And it's like, well,
wow.
that conversation actually is important. Do you just want someone who's like, hey, we sort of still just hang around because we knew each other from ages ago? Actually, what is this relationship? Are you willing to go a bit deeper? Like, because for me, this is what friendship starts to look like.
Wow.
Are you able to go there or not? And
Wow.
I thought that was interesting. And we know this is important in workplaces as well, clarifying expectations, clarifying, hey, this is what I expect from you, and this is what is expected from me. And, but actually things go wrong when it's not clear. You turn up and you say, hey, my name's on this spreadsheet to do a thing, but I don't know what that thing is, and I don't know what success for that thing looks like and how to achieve that. Like, there's a lack of clarity. So
yeah, absolutely. I love that. I'd never thought about having that clarification question in a friendship context. That sounds really awkward, but it probably could be really positive if you went into it being like, no, this is an opportunity to get clear on where this is going. That's great. I suppose the last thing I'm going to say is a question is, how can we avoid the ambiguous, unspoken expectations? How can we make it clear? How can we verbalize the unverbal?
Yeah, so we're talking about 6 dead simple ways to improve your relationships, and that's about building trust. And today we've been talking about clarifying expectations. If you clarify expectations, you will build trust and you will improve your relationships.